Yakuza is a series about hardship. It's a series about characters trapped in a system struggling to break free. It's about doing the right thing when the right thing seems impossible, about growing old, about forming connections, and discovering what really matters in life. Of course, you wouldn't know that from any of the footage I've been using because Yakuza is also one of the most deceptive video game series in existence.
Imagine if we got the same driver who drove us here. That'd be funny. Eventually a bus shows up that's going to North Rhine-Westphalia and we're like, oh, we go up to the driver who is not the New Yorker guy, singing our praises, give him our ticket, and he's like, this isn't your bus. Well, where the heck is our bus?
You are faced with a conundrum. Do you suck the coconut man's dick?
I have no good transition here, so, throw up a title card. Make it explode and hyper-masculine, you know? Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory! Talk to me, Goose!
Because these bombs make the air around us substantially more radioactive, we can no longer really rely on this method.
They irradiated their own planet?
That's right, Quark, we really fucked up. There are also atoms called carbon-13 in the air that actually tell us similar things to carbon-14. These levels aren't affected by setting off nuclear bombs. So we can see here, carbon-13 levels in the atmosphere have also dropped steadily in the same way carbon-14 has. So if all this theory is true, then it's all carbon's fault! Oh no, I'm making it worse!
Hey boss, pull my finger. No!
Superman is pretty much invincible. He can fly, he's got laser vision, he can rebuild the Great Wall of China just by looking at it. But he's basically a god compared to Mr. Bean, this weird little old man who is so lazy he'd rather shoot his own light bulb than get out of bed to turn it off. The reason Mr. Bean works so well is that the comedy is very physical, there's barely any language involved, so everyone from around the world can come together and laugh at him. Look at this incompetent, dim-witted character who gets scared of heights, is very socially awkward, hunts children for sport, you know, he's a silly little guy.
The shopkeeper asks Hitler to keep the newspaper aside and stand outside. Hitler grudges at being asked to work. The shopkeeper suggests Hitler clean his clothes, for they stink. He then goes to a laundry place and asks them to clean his uniform. Hitler asks if they have another uniform, since he cannot walk away naked. Hitler doesn't understand that he's in modern-day Germany now, and nudity is no big deal. Next, we see Hitler walking to the news cellar with jeans and a sweater on. Hitler's looking bussin'.
The last thing I want to touch on is, how would I put this? Mr. Bean's thirst for blood.
Women, right?
One of the funniest moments of the movie, by the way, by opinion.
The whole book featured a lot of unused or scrapped ideas that never made it into the show proper. But then you turn the page and you're greeted with, oh, for fuck's sake, are you kidding me with this shit?
Okay, key things to note, and you should really be writing this down. Superman will go to great lengths and put himself in danger for the safety of a child. And Mr. Bean kidnaps children and will actively neglect them for his own personal gain. Things get way darker in the episode Goodnight, Mr. Bean. The title being rather symbolic as we're now saying goodnight to the last shred of humanity he had left.
It's like we are paramedics going to the scene of a car crash. We prepare to treat the victim and we go through their injuries. Multiple bruises, broken bones, lacerations. Oh, and their head is missing. That would be the equivalent of the problem.
But before we start, we must ask ourselves the question, what is A10? How is A10? And where do A10s come from? Well, when a mummy and a daddy A10 love each other very much, they sort of hug in a very special way, and the mummy A10 bounces around on... No, I'm not doing that. I'm not. The A10 was designed as a close air support weapon.
And Superman's a good guy. Having power is one thing, but having the balls to use it is another. Superman has the strength to disembowel a man in a matter of nanoseconds, but he chooses not to because he's morally inclined to do so. He values human life and will only take it if absolutely necessary. Mr. Bean, on the other hand, look what he does in his spare time. What the fuck is this? Do you think this man values human life?
Here's what my little Clay would look like at age 30, and here he is at 70. Look at his little teeny beard. But yeah, now you can start to see the limitations of the technology. So unless Dream does a baby pic reveal, there was no way I was gonna possibly be able to know how accurate this guy would be growing up, which meant that I needed to now pull in something smarter. Specifically, the smartest AI I know, DALL-E. We've all seen these AI-generated images floating around the internet over the past few months, right? Well, maybe the AI is smart enough to give Shane and I our long-lost dream child. We actually have ourselves an awesome programmer named Zach who works with us as a freelancer for research. So I immediately tapped him to start hacking into the Matrix to try and give us our perfect baby. And after a week of him tweaking the open source code and feeding the AI tons of facial data about me, Shane, Steph, and Dream, we got ourselves this. A literal folder of nightmare fuel. I was out of luck.
I swear to God, if another person looks at me with that same shit-eating grin and says, but jack of all trades, master of none, in relation to the F-35, I may suddenly start advocating for mandatory IQ tests and the death penalty.
I don't think I have to explain this, but oh well. When Codpiece was in high school, he was rejected by a girl who said he wasn't big enough. Now, what she meant was that he wasn't tall enough. However, he misinterpreted this statement and got to work building this. As stupid as this may be, it's actually pretty efficient. It shoots bullets, it's got a drill for breaking into bank vaults, and it's also got a retractable boxing glove. Unfortunately for Codpiece, he is confronted by the Doom Patrol and defeated in the worst way humanly possible. Codpiece does not hold a candle, however, to Dog Welder, who welds dead dogs onto people's faces, and when he runs out of dogs, he goes into an alleyway to kill some more. I know he's technically not a villain, but like, come on, that's pretty fucking evil.
The statue was erected in 1998. It portrays Nathan Bedford Forrest on his horse, gun in one hand and sword in the other, surrounded by Confederate state battle flags, visible for all to see on the side of I-65. Forrest was a Confederate general and an early leader of the KKK.
That is just objectively terrifying regardless of context. He looks like if a nickel did cocaine.
Wonder Woman tells Superman that she can't be around him and cannot be his friend anymore. She leaves and Superman is left being truly down bad. After this, we get a flash forward. The year is now 1983, and in America, after JFK's assassination, Lex Luthor becomes president. As the news reports, Luthor managed to get the US out of chaos and rebuild the country, making America great again. We see Superman watching the TV in his Soviet palace.
These villains are just plain ridiculous. You can take one look at them and see everything you need to know about them. But there are some villains that, while they may not look so ridiculous from the outside, they still have some really stupid motivations or evil plans. Take Sauron, for example. Not only did he just steal his name from The Lord of the Rings, but his evil plan is to turn everyone on Staten Island into dinosaurs by completely rewriting their DNA. However, as Spider-Man rightly points out, if he can rewrite DNA, he could easily cure cancer, to which Sauron famously responds, "I don't want to cure cancer, I want to turn people into dinosaurs." One of my favourites is yet again another Daredevil villain called the Matador. Now, say what you want about his costume or his tragic backstory as a bullfighter, but you can't deny the sheer genius of his plan to defeat Daredevil. To cover him with a big cloth so that he can't see.
The fact that I see North America in my mind as this, and not this, is part of my culture. We've all probably looked at a lot of globes in our lifetimes, and the projection styles we see have likely influenced our view of the world. Is North America in the center of the map, or at the edge? Is Greenland the biggest continent, or is it just a little guy? Are the fun bumpy mountains on this globe to actual scale? What's the smallest landmass that's visible? Does it show climate, or elevation, or forest? What's the smallest settlement size? How are the metropolitan areas measured? What counts as the capital? Does underwater elevation have to be included? Should every country be divided into states and provinces, or just the United States? Who gets to claim this little bit? Is Taiwan part of China?
Currently, there's 4 races to play: Arleon, Rana, Baria, and the Barony of Loth. Arleon is post-collapse Rome, a formerly dominant empire carved up by barons and feudal lords, trying desperately to hold on to the status quo. That is, if Rome allied itself with the entire furry community. Honestly, I kinda get it. Imagine you were an explorer, and you stumble upon this isolated village inside the Amazon, consisting entirely of Crystal the Fox, but there's no males. So, you gotta do your part. You gotta turn those woodland creatures into woodland Twinkies, because if you don't, they won't survive.
And I'm sure nothing could ever go wrong with that. You know, filming people under extreme psychological pressure with deteriorating mental health. It's day 80 of the Live on Mars reality show, brought to you by Mars One. Over here we have John writing a manifesto on the wall with appears to be his own feces, having done intense research into makeshift ballistic weapons. In the hallway, Julie is strangling Maria in a fit of primal animalistic rage. James is blackout drunk for the 75th consecutive day. Robert is hanging from the ceiling.
Oh no. It's August. Everyone's here. We've all bought the game and we're fucking hyped. Here we go, lads. Oh dear lord, it isn't finished.
Some believe that Xi Jinping was publicly purging Hu Jintao, or somehow using Hu as a power play to indicate that Xi's in charge now. I know, it's like an Abbott and Costello sketch. Who's in charge? Xi's in charge. Who? No, Xi, that's who. That's who? No, that's Xi. Okay, that's enough.